Morning, everybody. Thank you for having me today. Merry, beautiful opening to the day, at least part of the opening to the day. So it seems like about a third to half of you have seen, including Samuel. So thank you for those of you who have seen it and who've enjoyed it and used it in your work and your lives. For those of you who haven't, I should probably just give you a little snapshot about what the film's about, because that is a big reason why I made this next film that I'm going to show you a clip of this morning. So maybe the best way I could do that is to tell you about my morning, which is probably something that will resonate with many of you. Samuel is a huge NASCAR fan. So he just loves watching NASCAR on the weekend, so much that if he misses any piece of the NASCAR coverage, I have to DVR it, and he watches it in the morning. So last night they had qualifying for NASCAR, which anybody who knows anything about NASCAR means they race around the track and you watch them one by one and see who's the fastest. So I DVR'd that. Well, at 4 this morning, Samuel wanted to watch qualifying. So I hear the typical, Dad. It's amazing how Samuel has a lot of trouble talking, but when he wants to get my attention at 4 in the morning, he's really loud. So Dad. So at 4 in the morning, I get up, say, Samuel, just give me an hour more of sleep, please. So I put on a book on tape, you listen, 5 o'clock, Dad. All right, Samuel, we'll get you up. So I help him get out of bed, help him get dressed, get him into his wheelchair. Samuel has cerebral palsy, got him into his wheelchair, got him into the living room, put on his augmentative communication device, his Dynavox in front of him, got his meds, takes about 7 or 8 different meds, got them prepped, got them in. I saved myself 10 minutes for breakfast and coffee, so I'm good. I'm feeling good this morning. And drove down to Boston from Concord, New Hampshire, where I live. So I'm sure that kind of story resonates with a lot of the parents in the room. I just want to give you a sense that I'm a professional, but I'm also a parent of somebody who's very engaged in their child's life. So what I want to talk about today is my new film. And it's an honor to have the Federation be one of the first kind of premieres, I would say, of the film, because I have just beginning to launch this film, so we're just doing some early screenings, and this is one of the very first screenings anywhere in the country that I'll be doing. I'm showing a clip, and then I'll be showing the whole film after this at a breakout. So what I want to tell you is why I made this film. And the film is called Who Cares About Kelsey? And what's happened with Including Samuel, as Rich said, I've had an honor of going all around the country. I think I've shown the film over 400 times now in about 35 states, a bunch of countries. It's been translated into 17 languages. It's been on national public television, and almost everywhere I go, people ask the same question, which is, what about kids with emotional and behavioral disabilities? And that's this big term that didn't mean a whole lot to me until a couple of years ago when I started researching this. So you say, well, what's an emotional behavioral disability? Now, of course, there's a coding in schools where you could have a coding of EBD, emotional behavioral disability, but I think that's just this very generic, like many of our coding and terminology, it's a very generic, doesn't say a lot. So when I think about emotional behavioral disabilities, I think they can originate from a lot of different places. A child could have a diagnosed mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar, depression. A child could have anxiety, like Mary's son. A child could have autism, and that could generate, behavioral challenges within a classroom, right? A child could have environmental factors in their life, maybe a history in the family of domestic violence, some post-traumatic stress, perhaps extreme poverty, abuse. So there's this whole range of things. And I started thinking, how can I possibly untangle and represent this very complicated subject in a film? So what I quickly realized is that I can't do it in one film. So I'm going to tell you more about the structure of this project in a little bit. But what I basically did was do one main narrative film, a full feature-length documentary called Who Cares About Kelsey, and then a series of mini-films that I'll go into in a bit. But I first want to tell you about some of the research that got me very motivated to do this project. And so just bear with me for some stats, but I think they're going to be very relevant and easy to comprehend. The Southern Poverty Law Center reports that students with emotional behavioral disabilities have the worst graduation rate of all students with disabilities. Nationally, about 40% graduate from high school, as compared to 76% of all students. 40%. They're among the most segregated students in educational settings. 65% of students, I'll use the word EBD for short, but I don't love that terminology, but just to keep it concise, 65% are not included in the regular school day and general ed classes. They are twice as likely as other students with disabilities to be living in a correctional facility, a halfway house, a drug treatment center, or on the street after leaving school. And they're almost twice as likely as students with other disabilities to become teen parents. And those are rough outcomes. And when I started hearing stats like that, it just made me think, these outcomes need to be changed. There is just no doubt that our society cannot continue to put so many kids on the street, in jail, in halfway houses, in those types of situations. So let me just, a couple more things that, actually this just came out in the last couple of weeks. The United States Department of Education, Office for Civil Rights, put out a report. And this represents 85% of the nation's kids, this report. It's a sampling, but it represents 85% of the kids. They found some very disturbing findings. In terms of physical restraint, where kids actually need to be restrained in a school environment, students with disabilities represent 12% of the sample. 12% nationally of the sample students had disabilities, but they represent 70% of the students who are physically restrained by adults in their school. 70% of kids restrained have disabilities when they represent only 12% of the sample. In terms of suspensions, students covered under IDEA with disabilities are over twice as likely to receive one or more out-of-school suspension than their non-disabled peers. And one of the key findings, and something I'm looking at in one of my films, is around racial disparities in the way kids, Caucasian kids, are disciplined as compared with African American or Latino kids. Across all districts, African American students are over 3.5 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than their white peers. That is just absolutely distressing. And in districts that reported expulsions under the zero tolerance policies, which I'll talk more about in a second, Latino and African American students represent 45% of the student body, but 56% of the students expelled under those policies. And the thing to appreciate here is a lot of these policies are very subjective. They did a big study in Texas where they looked at all the suspensions and expulsions. They found that there are certain laws, right? You bring a gun to school, you bring drugs into school, or you're dealing drugs. I mean, those are serious violations. There's a very clear repercussions, and there should be. I mean, we shouldn't. I mean, this is not about going soft on very serious things. But what they found is only 3% of all the kids who were suspended or expelled had violated one of those major policies. 97%, it was a subjective decision by an administrator. And it may not surprise you that African Americans and Latinos were 30% more likely to face disciplinary action for the same offenses. So some really difficult trends. And I appreciate very much what Mary said, and we've done it in our life, about finding educators, finding people who are just awesome, and you grab onto them and you don't let them go. And you say, I want to sign you up to a lifetime contract as my teacher or my speech therapist or occupational therapist or PT or whatever. But, and I'm sure Mary would agree, that we shouldn't have to rely on just finding those gems. We should be able to rely on a system that works, an educational system that works and that is fair and that is not disproportionate. So I started thinking, how can I make this project similar in a way that Including Samuel, I'm very proud to say, has been a catalyst for social change and for communication around inclusion and advancements in inclusion. It's certainly just one cog in a very big machine, but I'm proud of the impact it's had. How can I make this new film have the same kind of impact around these issues? And so my goal from the beginning is summed up in one sentence. I wanted to show innovative educational approaches that help students with emotional and behavioral disabilities to succeed while improving the overall school culture and climate. How can we change those outcomes? And while we're doing it, why don't we might as well improve the whole school for all kids. And what I found is that there's some really good news. There are educational frameworks out there that are working, that are doing this, and that are being underutilized in so many schools. So I'm going to throw out a couple of acronyms, and then I'm going to talk about them. Response to intervention, also known as RTI. Positive behavioral supports, also known as PBIS. Universal design for learning, also known as UDL. And person-centered planning. So to some of you, you live these words every day. Some of you, like me, they seem like these foreign concepts that we don't really understand. We don't have enough time for me to delve into them completely, but what I'm going to do is tell you a few things. There's some principles behind these theories, and they're very much along the lines of what Mary was saying. Every child has the capacity to learn. Every child has the capacity to be included. And you show me any kid that you say can't be included, I will show you a kid with a very similar profile, very similar mannerisms, whatever, disabilities, who is being successfully included somewhere else in this country. So it's not about the kid, it's about the environment. I mean, that is the critical point. And, this is not a matter of blaming anybody. This is just a matter of how can we proactively and thoughtfully change the environments. And what's interesting is you think about zero tolerance policies. There's been a lot of studies done, and none of them show that they're working. So why are we continuing? You know, does it just feel good to punish kids more harshly? Is that what this is about? I mean, you look at school districts with zero tolerance, and they have incredible high rates of expulsions and suspensions. What is that really doing? It's basically feeding the school-to-prison pipeline. Is that what we want to do? Is that what our society is about? But then you look at approaches like positive behavioral supports, which is you know, in sum about using positive incentives, positive reinforcement, looking for the ways that students are struggling and trying to address those ways through interventions and supports that they need to be successful. Finding ways to allow kids to communicate who have communication challenges, whether it's because of a physical disability like Samuel, or whether it's because of an emotional behavioral disability, or whether it's because they're so withdrawn because of maybe post-traumatic stress or something that's going on at home. How do we give kids the opportunity to communicate and feel like they belong? So this is a lot, right? All this stuff has been kind of going around in my head and my life for the last few years as I worked on this film. So what I wanted to do is show what are these practices that are just acronyms to a lot of people, what do they look like and feel like on the ground? And that's what this film project's about. So first I had to choose a focus, and I'm just about to show you the clip of the film. And one of my colleagues, Joanne Malloy, who's actually in part of this film, she's an amazing woman, a doctorate in social work, and started a program called Renew. She said, tell it in the voices of youth. So that's been one of my guiding principles, is let the young people tell the story. So I see it as kind of like an inside-out approach to educational reform, letting the students describe what it feels like and what it looks like to be in the middle of a school that's doing some really incredible things. There's the voices of teachers and experts and others, but it's really that approach. The thing that I've also decided to do is focus for this main film on environmental factors. And I did that because more and more as I talk to educators, they say, you know, the kids we're really struggling with, honestly, are the kids that are coming from homes with very difficult situations, whether it's poverty, whether it's perhaps some domestic violence in the home, whether it's a history of substance abuse in the home. So this is not about blaming families. This is about just understanding some certain realities in our society, that there are social forces that create some very difficult dynamics in families. Some of my mini-films look at other issues, particularly around autism, around mental health issues, but this film, Who Cares About Kelsey, focuses on those environmental factors. So what I'll say before I show the clip just lastly is this is a school, Somersworth High School in New Hampshire, is a school that has reduced their dropout rate by 75% over 4 years. They've reduced discipline referrals to the office by 60% over 4 years. And it's a school that, coincidentally, not really, implemented positive behavioral supports and response to intervention in the last 4 years. And they also do intensive person-centered planning with high school students to figure out what are their dreams and how can we connect those dreams to your everyday reality. So let's go ahead and show you this clip. If we'll be able to darken the lights, I'm going to show you just an 8 or 9 minute clip and then talk a little bit more, maybe have a little conversation, and then we'll show you the whole film if you come to the breakout afterwards. So enjoy the clip, if we're all set for that.
The twisted root, reach for forbidden fruit, split it apart in two, learn what the angels knew. Wear down the prison guard, slip through the rusty bars.
I overthink about things, I get depressed. I have one verse of a song in my head and I'll sing it over and over and over again because I can't stop thinking about it. Like if I heard like the Sesame Street song, I'll be singing the Sesame Street song in my head for like the rest of the day. When you have ADHD, you suppress a lot of things, like thoughts and anger and energy, and then one day like, it's not sticking. I have a lot of anger issues, because when I get mad, like, I don't think, I just do. I really did just do that, didn't I?
Take a bus to the coast.
Boys called me mean names, so I had a habit of punching them in the face.
Tie a knot around your arm, cradle your bad luck charm, beg it to bring you calm, fade away with your...
Let any one of these little kids say something, and I'm gonna hit them. Let them, I promise. I beat people up, I'm not nice. I don't know, I'm just a bitch. You're fat. I believe in safety pins, jeans, piercings, and tattoos. Not Barbies and glitter. You can shut up and deal with it.
Where are my friends who are lost and alone? May they find their way back home.
most people don't understand my attitude, my sense of humor, my hyperness. My family doesn't understand it either. Obviously, if you spent a little bit more time with me talking more about how I am, you'd understand that, yeah, I've had a really crappy life, and a little bit of caring will take me a long, long way.
Good morning, Summersworth High School and Career Technical Center. On behalf of myself, Mrs. Lampros, and Dr. Chamberlain, the full faculty and staff, I want to congratulate you on an excellent job during the concert yesterday. Once again, you have raised the bar and the level of expectations that we have for you. We are all very proud of you. Thank you.
Don't forget about the 12 days of charity. Today is cosmetics and tomorrow is socks.
No rowdiness. Green card agenda book and move to the front, please. Green card agenda book, move to the front.
Grab an agenda book.
Okay.
The fact that I'm already here for an extra year, and everyone knows it, just kind of embarrassing. I'm not going to come back for another year. I've been here 5 years. 6 years is a little bit stupid, so I wouldn't come back.
Dream for every single one of you is to graduate next year, to be going to a college, a 2-year school, a technical school, to be employed full-time, to do the military, to have some sort of dream out there that you are to start moving forward to. We can have lots of dreams and hopes for you, but you are the one that plays a critical role. What your vision, what your passion is, will determine whether or not you achieve those dreams.
Freshman year I came here, no one really helped me. They didn't really know my situation. Kinda didn't really care. They didn't take the time to understand anything. Sophomore year wasn't good. Second sophomore year wasn't good. School was full of drugs. There wasn't a day where someone didn't get in a fight or you didn't hear about someone doing drugs in the bathroom. So it was an everyday occurrence. I got suspended freshman year for the intent of selling and possession of a controlled substance. And they were gonna report me to the police, but they didn't because it was my own prescription. I have to write a 5-page paper due tomorrow. Woot!
You're not going to do it, are you?
I have to.
She threw like this. Oh my God.
I used to get kids to throw basketballs at some girl's face just because she pissed me off. I really don't give a crap about what people think about me, and I didn't then either. If they wanted to be mean, I'd be mean right back. I didn't care. But I usually won because I have ultimate meanness. Dude, I think I'm in trouble. I don't know. I'm not finishing this stupid thing. Pardon me, I'm sorry. I can't finish this, I have math. Huh?
You had Friday, second?
Shut up.
You had Friday, second, and third to work on this. So I've got sections here that have got to be done. If you can't do it now, when are you going to do it? So
I'll do it later in the week. I can't do it today, I have math. Math is more important than that.
Tell me when.
Friday.
I can't. They're mailed out Thursday.
Wednesday.
Tuesday? You can't do it tomorrow?
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
Okay, the Wednesday first one?
Fine.
I'm nervous about her graduating. She and I had a conversation that she had a week to pull up her grades, or I was going to pull her 4th block senior privileges. And she got a little upset with me. You know, who are you to do that? I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and you're not going to make any difference. There's a temper in her, and if she gets mad, she would just throw up her hands and walk away. She wants to make her own decisions, but her own decisions aren't going to get her to graduate from school. And she's stubborn and obstinate. She, in some ways, is a very mature young lady, and in some ways, a very immature young lady. But I think she has the ability to become a champion of the underdog.
Hey, do you have enough to get something?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You're my hero.
Well, if you want something else, One day they told me to go to this meeting or something and then I wouldn't have to be in class. I didn't know what it was for, but I went anyway because I wouldn't have to be in class, so it was kind of cool.
All right, so Kelsey, what's the agenda for today?
You're asking me?
What's the most pressing issue for you?
Graduating, why not?
Graduating.
If I don't graduate, I'm pretty sure I'm not coming to this school again.
I have a feeling you're going to graduate. I mean, that's part of my...
Yeah, but I'm just saying if I don't, I'm not going back to this school. I'll go to a different one. Because you know how embarrassing it is, the fact that I'm in my sister's class?
We're going to get...
And the fact that, oh, you said you're supposed to graduate last
We
year.
are going to think like you're graduating.
That
Right.
picture
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing.
Well, it's hard when you've grown up like me. You don't get your hopes up for anything.
Of course.
So
So we're trying to help you change that way of thinking. Picture graduating.
I can't
in
change
June.
that way of thinking. It's just the way that I am. I don't get my hopes up for nothing until it happens, and then I get excited about it. Because if I get knocked down, it's devastating. So.
I think she...
Thank you. That was just a clip. Let me. I should have said something earlier. It's a rough cut of the film at this point. We're still in post-production and everything, and I have to apologize for it not being open captioned. All my work is open captioned when it's done. We're just not quite there yet. So thank you for the work you just did, and I'm sorry it was difficult. Once we finish the film, which will be in a few weeks, it'll be open captioned, audio described. Everything we do is completely accessible and translated into multiple languages. I don't want to be the keynoter that makes everyone late for the rest of the day, so I've got about 5 more minutes, I think, and then we're going to wrap it up. So let me just tell you. In addition to that main film, which I'm going to show in the next breakout, we're going to show the whole film, which is just over an hour long. I'm doing a series of mini-films that I'm actually working on right now that may interest some of you. And each of those mini-films will be 7 to 12 minutes. One will be on school-wide positive behavioral supports at Somersworth High and how they transform that school. Another will be on an incredible young girl named Tasya Luminkewas. She's from Indonesia. She's 9 years old. She has autism. She uses a communication device and is in a school that practices positive behavioral support and response to intervention. And I have this one scene of her that I just love where she's sitting at a table with her aide in class, and the aide is just trying so hard to get Tasya to write her first name on the paper. Just again and again, Tasya, just write your name on your homework, write your name on your homework, write your name on your homework. Finally, she writes her name, she gets up, she goes to the gym with her classmates and performs a half-hour-long piano solo. Just incredible piano player. So showing kind of the multiple ways that we can assess intelligence and talent. I've done interviews with incarcerated youth of a lot of different circumstances, talking about what was it that set them on that path and what early on might have set them on a different path away from incarceration. I was out in St. Louis filming a school that's about 90% African American that is doing a tremendous job of inclusion and positive behavioral supports, but it's also looking at the issue of racial disparity, as I talked about earlier, around discipline. And then I've done interviews with a lot of national experts. So what I hope happens with this film, and what I hope you'll see as we start to roll it out in the next few months, is that it has a similar role to Including Samuel in terms of it being a tool and a catalyst for you to do the great work you do as family members, as advocates, as professionals, to make sure that all kids have the chance to be included in their regular home schools. Does inclusion work for every single kid? I get that question everywhere I go. And I would say sure, there are kids that despite the best efforts of everybody, the school, the families, just need a separate setting. Does that mean they'll always be in a separate setting or an alternative school? Not necessarily. Does that mean they need to be in that alternative setting all day long? Not necessarily. But what I would also say is that many of the stories I hear, when I really hear the story, it's more about the setting and the environment than it is about the kid. And that's what I hope comes through in this project. So I look forward to sharing it with you. One thing I want to also specify is in the afternoon, what we'll be doing is having a chance to really talk about these issues in a little more depth that I've been studying with the film in the afternoon session. And I'm also going to show a clip that some of you may know. How many of you have heard about the I Am Norm campaign? Maybe a handful of people? Great. So I Am Norm is a campaign that Including Samuel helped launch. That's a national inclusion campaign directed by young people and involving young people. And I'm going to show some material and talk a little bit about that national inclusion campaign, which we've made really accessible to schools and communities to use on their own. So thank you for spending a little time with me. It's great to spend time with you. I look forward to meeting with you later today. Thanks.
So you can tell there's too much